Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Clint Norris here, IFBB Pro. Starting episode 1 of the podcast today, and I have Mr. Daryl King, IFBB Pro, joining me. And he's going to have some questions for me. I've had a lot of people reach out to me and give me some topics to go over. So first we're going to hear a little bit about Daryl, how he got into the fitness industry and how he progressed as far as his competitions go. So take off, homeboy.
Well, I'm 57 years old. I'll be 58 in December, and started working out when I was 17 years old. So remember that if you ever decide to come at me. But I started out in bodybuilding actually 45 years old. Talked to Clint about getting into it, and he said I could probably do good at it, and started out in bodybuilding. And at 6'1", 192 to 194, my height was a problem. I couldn't put on enough muscle, and I swapped over to physique in 2013, and in 2015 I got my pro card. And it took me 4 years, but eventually 2018 I took a couple of years off and worked on my weak areas, which is my back and my arms. And last year I won my first pro show as a pro. So feel blessed, was glad to get there, and it's kind of a bucket list thing for me, and I achieved it.
That's pretty incredible. I remember the day you got your pro card. Actually,
I do too.
That was a good one.
They put me in the middle and
left your ass in the middle.
And left my ass in the middle. I was like, okay, here we go.
Yeah.
Felt good, but you're always nervous that day, like you were when you got your pro card.
Yeah, you know what it's supposed to mean.
Yeah.
You know, when they put you in the middle and leave you there, but you don't ever know until they say your name.
Right, till they say your name that evening, so you're wondering all day long.
Because I've been put in the middle before and left in the middle and ended up second.
Yeah.
At a show.
Yep. Well, I got some questions for Coach.
And, here come the questions.
I'm going to roll into it. We're going to talk a little bit about contest prep. How does contest prep differ according to age? Someone like me, who's fixing to be 58 years old, versus someone who's 23 years old. How's the intensity? Is it more? Is it less? Just in type of meals, do they change depending on your age?
Yeah.
And how you process carbohydrates?
Well, you could probably answer this question just as good as I can.
Pretty close, but you'll use 3 and 4 syllable words on it.
Yeah.
I like that, so go ahead.
Well, I mean, you tell me. Do you think your metabolism is any different now than what it was when you were 20? Because I feel like mine's better.
I was fixing to say, I don't know that mine isn't better. I don't know that it is or isn't. I really don't think it's worse.
Yeah. Well, we know as we age, I mean, an aged bodybuilder or, whatever, figure competitor, if you're a woman, bikini competitor, your hormones aren't going to be the same. That's going to be the biggest. As we age, we know our testosterone declines, we know our growth hormone levels decline, and with a woman, it's the same thing. She goes through menopause, she doesn't make progesterone, estrogen, or testosterone hardly anymore. So those are things that definitely need to be addressed, and it's also why I'm a big advocate of getting blood work done. Right out of the gate when I start working with somebody, it doesn't matter if they want to compete or not. It's going to be, let me see all these numbers. Let's make sure your kidneys are working right, your liver's working right, your thyroid, that's a huge one. Your thyroid can tend to decline too as we age, and you end up gaining more body fat than what you're able to lose. So it can be more difficult the more you age, but with all of the technology we have nowadays, especially with the hormone replacement, I myself, testosterone replacement, I'm 41 years old. You the same thing. So as long as we keep your hormones in check, and obviously you can't eat shit if your body chemistry is good, and still look good. So you has to have all the things.
Yeah.
Your cardio's good, your workouts are good, and your blood work has to be good on top of all that. So in terms of, do I think that it's more difficult for an aged bodybuilder to get in shape than a younger man? Absolutely not. As long as your endocrinology, your all those numbers are in order. If your liver's working properly, because liver has a lot to do with how much you're able to burn body fat as well. If your testosterone's good, if your estrogen is in a good spot, then, and your thyroid, obviously, that's a big one when it comes to fat metabolism. As long as those numbers are in order, then I don't see any reason why somebody who's 50 can't lose fat just as fast as somebody who's 20.
I want to say this about Coach. He's, and I'm not a stone thrower. I'm not going to bring up any more coaches' names. I'm not that guy. But Clint's the guy that cares for you, cares for your longevity of life. That's what I respect about him so much, is that he's not going to do things to you and put you through things and put you on things that later on down the road you have adverse health effects. He's just not going to do it. That's something that he absolutely will not do. Basically, he has a conscience.
Sure. Your health has to be number one. Nobody wants to be the best looking person laying in a damn casket.
You're right.
You could look great all day long, but at the end of the day, if you don't have your health, you really don't have anything.
You're right.
And to take that a step further, especially with the women, if you have a coach out there who's instructing you to take X, Y, and Z, and you have no idea what X, Y, and Z are, you need to research those things before you put them in your body. Don't just blindly trust your coach if he tells you to take these things, because I have seen what once was a pretty woman be transformed into something that was anything but pretty, and not to her knowledge. She had no idea what she was taking. She had no idea what she was doing to her body, and now all of a sudden she sounds like me, and she's got facial hair, and
so you're saying that a woman with an Adam's apple doesn't do much for you? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And other colorful things, square jaw.
Square jaw. The square jawline gets me every time.
Yeah.
There's nothing better than a square jawline on a woman.
I love it.
Man, just touching on this for a second, we were talking about young versus old, and this is a little bit off the script, but talk to me a little bit about muscle maturity. I've noticed in hearing like the regional shows, the state, Battle of the River, this and that, a lot of the guys that win are in their late 30s and 40s. They're not 25 and 30.
Muscle maturity, that's kind of a curveball there. When somebody says muscle maturity, I think of like a grainy appearance.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I was younger, I had some significant muscle mass, as a kid, as a late teenager, early 20s. But I feel like with every time I dieted down, I got a little harder, a little grainier.
A little grainier.
Yeah, and my fin, as I aged, that's one thing I feel like age has helped me with. Like your skin is not as elastic as it once was.
Right.
I couldn't gain 100 pounds, lose 100 pounds, and not have something wrong. But in terms of like how thick your skin looks,
right.
That's what I think about when I think of muscle maturity. And obviously, as you age, if you've been consistent, you're going to have more muscle mass. I've never really actually thought about muscle maturity and what that entails. And another thing could be just adding that muscle mass on your body could make you look grainier. Mm-hmm. I would think. Mm-hmm. And then we could get down to how much water your muscle holds and how much your muscle is actually tissue, and do you add more tissue over the years? That's a good question. I'll have to ponder that one a little bit more to come up with a better answer.
And then when you get toward the end, how someone needs to dry out. You look at me last couple of weeks, and man, you need to dry out a little bit. That's one of your things, and of course you adjust me, and I adjust and come in on point every time.
Yeah.
I come in 3.5% body fat usually every year.
Yeah, if you're not waking up dry 2 weeks out from a show, I feel like something's wrong. Mm-hmm. That's when I would say, okay. I mean, we would have gotten blood work done to address that beforehand. But if any of you out there are 2 weeks out from a show and you're not waking up in the morning dry as a bone, something else is wrong. Either you're not in shape, you need to lose more body fat.
I ain't gonna say his name, but you know who I'm talking about. I could go there.
Yeah.
It's somebody that Clint uses. He got his thyroid that was.
His estrogen was just out the ass.
His estrogen was 2,000 or something crazy.
Yeah, which for a male, I mean the reference range is no greater than 40. And we're talking about a male who it was over 2,000. And I had been on him, I had been on his ass for like since 10 weeks out. Man, you need to go get your estrogen checked. I feel like it's off because you look like you're holding quite a bit of water and fat. You need to go get that checked. But he finally got it checked, and it was, it was a little closer to the show than what I wanted. He still came in and looked incredible, but he knows, and I know now, that that needs to be done way, way out
He
to get that addressed.
At the national show.
Sure, yeah, he made top 5 at nationals.
Yeah.
But,
we ain't gonna say no names. We're not name droppers here.
Yeah, and he knows I'd never say anything bad about him. He knows who he is.
He's a good one.
He is. He's a good fella. Real good fella.
Carb cycling. When should you do it? How should you do it? And what are the benefits of it?
Okay, that's a good one, and that's something that everybody listening to this probably has done themselves. But when I start a prep, or even if I start a meal plan for anybody, I start them out with consistent carbs across the board, because the first thing that you need in order to lose weight or fat, of course we know there's a big difference between weight loss and fat loss, but the first thing you have to do is create a deficit. You have to eat less calories than what you're burning. Right?
Yep.
You have to burn more calories than what you're eating, in a nutshell. So that's number one. But there comes a point, and like I said, I always start everybody out on one end of the spectrum. I give them plenty of fats, plenty of carbs, plenty of protein. And for somebody who just wants to get in better shape, get down, if it's a man, somebody who wants to get down to 10, 12% body fat, be able to see some abs, as long as they're working out doing cardio, that's really all they need. They don't need to start doing something like carb cycling. But again, there's a point, when you are trying to get into contest shape where, and I don't make an adjustment until you have hit a plateau, or I'm like, okay, it's crunch time. You need to start losing more body fat in order to get ready for a show. But when you do reach that point, having said all that, a carb cycle is a really good way to put you in more of a deficit, number one. And number two, it helps. There is a correlation. When you have a high carb day, there's a correlation between, like I was saying earlier, about your thyroid being healthy. Your thyroid and your insulin are correlated with each other. So if you're not eating carbohydrates, or if you're on low carbohydrates a lot of the time, then that means that your thyroid is going to tend to slide off a little bit. Not only because of the caloric deficit, but because your insulin is never spiked. So if you look at studies, you will see a correlation between he spiked his insulin, his thyroid output just increased. So when you have, most people are on like a 2 high carb day a week, or a 1 high carb day a week, or some people have a low, medium, and high. I don't ever go to that. Not very often. I'm not going to say never, because I did this year. But normally it's just a couple of days a week. You add carbs in, and not only does it bump your metabolism, it's going to make you look fuller, and it's going to allow you to train harder. We know that carbohydrates increase your performance a lot. So definitely increases your performance, definitely increases your metabolism, and it's a good way to put yourself into a caloric deficit. If I had to give a top 3 in terms of carb cycling benefits and highlights, those would be it. So
Well, and I don't know if y'all have gathered this or not, but basically this isn't scripted. We're just talking. What I want to hit next time, or at some point on one of your podcasts, is this is something that I discovered through studying and taking a couple of courses online, and you can break it down with the bigger words. But how carbs turn into a fat substrate, de novo lipogenesis. I don't know if that's too deep for the folks here, but that was very intriguing to me. We'll catch that on one of our other podcasts.
Sure,
You just brought that up, and it made me think about de novo lipogenesis. But anyway,
yeah, we can get into that. But we can touch on just to touch on it a little bit. Just everybody, I'm sure, has a coach or has been on a diet where fruit is restricted. Just to touch on what you just said a little bit. Your body can create fat from a carbohydrate. It can convert anything into a fat. It can convert protein into a carbohydrate, via gluconeogenesis, which, sounds like a really long word, but if you break it down, glucose, new, genesis, beginning. it's a new glucose molecule you're creating. But back to the fruit. So fructose is an abundant carbohydrate or sugar, so to speak, in fruit. Your liver can readily convert that into body fat or into fat. So if you're wondering why fruit is not on many diets as far as contest prep go, and why everybody's like, I don't want the sugar when it comes to fruit. Well, that's, nobody probably knows that in depth of a reason.
Right.
But yeah, fructose is easily converted by the liver into fat. So
there's a place for those low glycemic fruits, right? After a good heavy leg day, coach gives me an apple after leg day, and leg day is always pretty intense. And I have my blueberries and strawberries in the morning to get my day started. And unless we're a month out, you usually chop that off, and I'm always happy about that.
I know you're happy about it.
Yeah.
Well, at that point, you're about ready to go like bear hunting with a switch, though.
Pretty much, yeah.
You're pretty pissed off anyway.
Yeah, I don't know if you've heard that or not. If you guys have heard this, is it true, man? Back in the day, you used to bear hunt with a switch. Is that true?
Yeah, I've heard a rumor or two.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Me and the crew I ran with, we all bear hunted with.
I've heard a couple stories. What are some good strategies to maximize muscle recovery?
Well, in a nutshell, if you go down to the simplest, I guess the simplest way you could put it is that blood is what heals us. Blood is what carries nutrients to the muscle.
Hence blood work. Go ahead.
Yeah. Blood is what's going to heal you. So if you do, even if you have an injury, aside from muscle growth, the more you can circulate blood around your body, and of course the nutrients have to be there, which is back to the nutrition. If you're eating a good diet, then those nutrients are going to be readily available in your blood. So if you're moving blood around your body, and I'm talking about walking, that's going to circulate more blood through your body. Your heart rate's going to get up a little bit. You're going to circulate more blood. You're going to recover faster. So, for instance, after a heavy leg day, and you call them flu legs.
Yeah.
And everybody listening to this probably knows what that's like if you've ever had a decent leg day.
If you work legs, sorry I interrupted you, Clint, but if you work legs, and then I get flu day from this, and a heavy, intense leg day, the next morning you're a little sore. That night you're hurting, Linda. The next morning, the second day, I call it flu legs. It literally from the waist down, it feels like you have the flu. They're so sore. But go ahead.
Yeah. So after I train legs and I'm really sore, on the days that I'm the most sore and I have the most intense workouts, the very next day I'm on the bike. I get on a recumbent bike just because it's a low impact. You're not tearing any muscle fibers. You're not doing anything but pushing blood through your legs. And that sounds counterintuitive to most people. What, you're gonna do the bike after you train legs? Well, yeah, that's what's going to get more blood moving through your legs. That's what's going to get rid of the waste products. That's what's going to, all the metabolic waste that happens when you train. That's what's going to repair the tissue that you've damaged because you're getting more and more nutrients to the legs. So in terms of recovery, drink enough water, have good nutrition, and move blood around your body.
Right.
Move blood around your body. Active rest.
Even
some
if
people
it's
call
low
it active
impact.
rest.
Even if it's low impact, like you said, recumbent bike, walking,
Sure.
going outside, walking up and down the street.
Sure. And I wouldn't recommend getting in the squat rack the day after, with lightweight or something like that. But yeah, as long as it's an active recovery type of activity and it's a pain-free movement, and just to go to an injury side of things, if you want to heal yourself let's say you've got an achy knee, find a pain-free movement and move a lot. I follow Stan Efferding, which he's a really, really intelligent guy, still a huge guy. He's about your age. He's in his mid-50s, but Stan Efferding, very intelligent guy, and that's one of the things he said in one of his videos is to find a pain-free movement, and this is in terms of an injury. Find a pain-free movement and move a lot, because the more you move, the more blood you're going to bring to that area, and the more nutrients you're going to bring to that area, and ultimately that's what's going to heal you.
Right.
You know, if it hurts, don't do it. If a squat hurts, don't squat. If a leg extension hurts, don't do a leg extension.
Leg extension hurts, don't do it.
Yeah, find a pain-free movement. If y'all can take a theme away from this section, find a pain-free movement and move a lot. If you want to heal your muscle soreness, your delayed onset muscle soreness, if you want to heal an injury, find a pain-free movement and move a lot in that movement.
And push that blood.
Push the blood. That's it.
Let's talk about a good way to increase workout intensity. More reps, more weight, how much, how often. A lot of people struggle with this. Add 5 pounds per week, per day.
Sure. That's a question I get a lot. Like when I write a program for somebody, it's a workout, it's nutrition, it's a cardio routine, it's what supplements you take. And I get the text all the time, Coach, when are we going to change our workouts up? And I give the same answer every time. We're not going to change the workout. Because, I mean, when somebody sends me pictures, I address what they look like, what their weak areas are, and I write out a workout hitting those angles and hitting the frequency I feel like is necessary if they do have a lagging body part to bring it up. The biggest change, and this is my response, the change that takes place week to week isn't the exercises you do. It's the intensity level. You know, so the intensity needs to be the difference from week to week. And going back to your question, what does that mean? What does the intensity mean? I'm talking about increasing obviously the poundage. That would be the most obvious. You know, the progressive resistance training where you're trying to add little by little, you know, move more weight. A muscle that moves more weight is probably going to be bigger than the muscle on you. I'm not talking about, you know, in a general aspect, but on yourself, if your chest can move, you know, 315 for 10 instead of 275 for 10, the chest that moves 315 for 10 is probably going to be a bigger muscle. So that's one aspect, and that's the most obvious one. The next one is more volume. You know, like if you can do 315 for 3 sets of 10, the chest that can do three sets of 10 is going to probably be bigger than the chest that can do only 1 set of 10, and then a set of 5, and then a set of 3. You know, and that's the aspect that a lot of people don't think about when you're talking about muscle growth. Is your muscle's almost 80% water. So with that water is the glucose. It's like the energy that's on hand at the time. When you put a demand on your muscle, you're going to store more energy in that muscle, which means you're going to store more water in that muscle. So that means a fuller muscle. And I'm not talking about the contractile tissue, you know, like the anatomy guy. You've seen the skinless guy on the front of the anatomy book.
Yeah.
You see the red muscle fibers. Those red muscle fibers only make up about 20% of an actual what a muscle is. So most of your muscle is water. So if you can put a higher demand on your muscle by adding that volume, it's going to be fuller, and that's going to contribute to your muscle mass. Now, it's not necessarily going to contribute to the fibers. That's the heavier weight. Mm-hmm. You know, that's when you create the micro tears in your muscle. Right. That's going to make those fibers grow.
Which makes you sore.
Yes.
Yeah.
But the volume is what's going to make that volume grow, like how much water and glucose you store in the muscle. So the volume is the second thing. And then we can get into going to failure. We can get into drop sets, you know, things like that. And I'm not saying that you don't add a different exercise here and there, but if you find a formula that works, why would you mess with it?
Right.
You know, if you're hitting your body from the angles with these exercises right here, don't change them. You know, just try to progressively overload yourself in terms of volume or in terms of how much weight you're going to use, and that's going to work. That's going to work for you. And just one more thing, like if you look, Dorian Yates, Ronnie Coleman, if you watch any of their workout videos, they did the same damn exercises their entire career. They were just constantly trying to push yourself, and that's also that you can monitor your progress a lot better if you are doing the same exercises. You know, if you always start your chest workout with incline barbell press, then you know, okay, last week I got 315 for 10. Let's see if I can do 12 this week. But if you're starting with incline barbell sometimes, you start with incline dumbbell sometimes, you start with pec deck sometimes. It's like, I don't know how I'm progressing.
How can you gauge it?
Right, you can't gauge it.
Right.
So anyway, there we go.
Hormonal changes during prep, especially when your diet is low carb, low fat, feels like the body shuts down to everything that's not essential. And I can vouch for this, including good mood.
Yeah, just going back to we touched on this a little bit earlier, just the blood work thing. The same thing happens when you're in a caloric deficit. When we age, the testosterone declines. When we are in a caloric deficit, if you're a natural bodybuilder, if you're not taking hormone replacement, you're actually a natural bodybuilder, your testosterone is going to take a dive in a caloric deficit. And that partially has to do with the added stress on your body, the added cortisol. It has to do with cutting cholesterol out of your diet. Usually the cholesterol intake is down, which cholesterol is testosterone in its infant stage. Like your body takes cholesterol, like in the egg yolk or in animal proteins, especially like red meat. Your body takes that cholesterol and creates testosterone out of it. Same thing for a woman. It takes that cholesterol and it creates her sex hormones out of it, estrogen, estradiol, progesterone, and testosterone for a woman too. But that's why you need cholesterol in your diet, and usually in a contest diet, it's not going to be there, or at least not as much. So testosterone is going to take a dive. Your thyroid, if you're not getting enough, if you're in a caloric deficit for an extended amount of time, or if you're in a really extreme caloric deficit, we've heard about metabolic damage. That's when your thyroid just shuts down. Doesn't matter what you do. So those are things that you need to keep an eye on, and again with the blood work, those are things that you can see right out of the gate and address if you need to address them. So,
and I'm not dropping no names, of course. I don't know if I've mentioned this. I'm not a name dropper, but yeah. You just helped a female that's close to my age from a previous coach get over some of that. Her metabolism was absolute crap.
Yeah, sure.
She just did really well in a national show.
She did great. Really proud of her, and
she looked great too.
And she is a beast.
She was turned inside out. Looked like someone just peeled the skin. Looks like Predator had gotten a hold of her.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty bad when your female client has better glutes than you do.
Yeah, man, they were something. They were something.
Yeah, and she trains like a mad woman,
like an animal.
I mean, I can't push her hard enough.
Right.
So
I want you to be real specific on this question. I want you to discuss your nutrition approach to comp, why cooked veggies over raw, that kind of thing.
That's a good one. So the cooked veggies versus raw, you do lose some nutrients when you cook vegetables. I don't know if you've ever boiled broccoli, for instance. When you dump it out in a colander and you drain the water off of it, you see that the water's green. So you're losing some nutrients. Yeah. But having said that, there are certain nutrients that are activated when you cook vegetables, such as like calcium is probably, that's one of the biggest ones that comes to my head right off the bat. But it's bound by, it's called oxalates. And when you cook raw vegetables, it lowers the amount of oxalate in the vegetable and frees up the calcium so you can absorb it more efficiently. So is there less nutrients in it? Yes, but some of them are more bioavailable when you do cook it. And
interesting. Had no idea.
Yeah, sure.
Had no idea.
Yeah.
Wow.
It actually activates some of the nutrients. But another reason, like personally, when I eat raw broccoli, it gives me hard gas. Like you don't want to be around me. We're talking, paint coming off the wall kind of shit.
Yeah, I've been around you. It's not good.
Sure. So the high raffinose vegetables like broccoli, asparagus, cabbage, things like that can give you really, really bad gas. But if you cook them, I've noticed that when I cook a vegetable, like if I cook broccoli to fork tender, it tends to have broken down that a little better so I can process it better, and it doesn't give me gas at all actually. I eat broccoli all prep long, and as long as it's fork tender, I don't have a problem digesting it at all. So cook vegetables versus raw. cooked every day. You know, are you going to lose some of the nutrients? Sure. But you may actually absorb more nutrients because it's activating them for you. And you'll probably digest it better as well, trying to digest something cooked versus something raw.
Fiber is so, and this is my statement, by the way, not his. Fiber is so important. It's just so important. Vegetables, greens, something that's very fibrous actually speeds up your metabolism a little bit, doesn't it, Bubba?
It does.
Because your small intestines really have to go to work.
The whole intestine. Yeah.
To work it down, to break it down so it can be digested, correct?
Sure. When you think about what is your digestive tract, and I'm talking about from the time you swallow your food to the time it exits, it's one giant muscle. You know, so when you swallow food, your digestive tract has to, the smooth muscle cells in your digestive tract has to massage that food through to make it through to the other side. And fiber, I've never heard anybody say this, but I look at fiber as exercise for your digestive tract. You know, it keeps your digestive tract in shape because it gives those muscle cells something to push against,
to work with.
Right.
You've never mentioned that to me. That's cool.
Yeah. It's like
very cool.
Lifting weights for your intestines, pretty much. That's the way I look at it. And it's a good way to, like, if you're trying to lower your dietary cholesterol, which that's another debate. You know, fiber does tend to attach itself to cholesterol, to dietary cholesterol. You know, so if you ingest fiber with something that has cholesterol in it, it tends to attach to it and move it out at the same time. You know.
Plus, not to mention the antioxidants in all of it.
Sure.
You know, the C word. The C word. I mean,
Got
I've
me scared
always
here.
looked at it this way, man. It doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt to eat fiber. Broccoli, all those stuff with all those antioxidants. Blueberries, strawberries.
What's the C word you're talking about, Bubba?
Cancer.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Had me scared there for a minute.
Okay, you didn't know. Okay, never mind.
Nope, don't say that one.
Yeah, I won't.
Yeah.
Great discussion, man.
Yeah, Bubba. Yeah. And we actually, we filmed this once already, but yours truly forgot to turn the sound box on. So this is our second go at it.
Yep. Think it went great.
Yeah, man. Look forward to doing it again. And again, if y'all have any questions, comments, concerns, or you want to slide me another topic, I'd be happy to cover it. Yeah. That's it. Y'all have a good one.
Be safe, guys.